The numbers that basically run our worlds, well, they're not all the same. Turns out they belong to two very different teams, and each one has its own secret playbook. And today we're going to crack it wide open.
So, let's start with a little bit of a puzzle. You've got a simple fraction, 1/2. You've got a famous square root, the square root of 2. And then you have the legend itself, pi. I mean, on the surface, they look like they come from totally different worlds, right? But what's the one thing that actually connects them all?
And the answer is they're all family. Yep, they belong to this huge family of what we call real numbers. But, just like any big family, they've kind of split into these two distinct groups, two teams that operate in completely opposite ways. We're going to call them Team Rational and Team Irrational. First up, let's meet the reliable ones. The orderly group, the numbers that you can always count on to behave exactly how you expect. This is Team Rational. Okay, so this team has one single super important rule. Think of it like their entry ticket into the club. If you can write a number as a fraction, one whole number over another, it's on the team. That's it. That's the golden rule. And here's how that rule plays out in the real world. Team Rational includes all the numbers you use every single day. Whole numbers, integers, and of course, fractions. And when you write them as a decimal, they're always neat and tidy. They either just stop, what we call terminating, like 0.25, or they get into this predictable repeating loop, like 0.666 and on forever. Just look at these star players right here. The whole number 5, that's just 5/1. A decimal, like 0.25, is nothing more than 1/4. And even that repeating decimal, 0.666, cleans up perfectly into 2/3. See? They all fit that fraction rule. No problem. All right, enough with the predictable players. Now it's time to meet the rebels, the mysterious, the unpredictable wild cards of the number world. Let's talk about Team Irrational. The rule for Team Irrational is actually pretty simple. They're defined by what they are not. These are the numbers that just refuse to be pinned down into a neat little fraction. It doesn't matter how hard you try, you just can't write them as one whole number over another. And this is where they totally earn that wild card reputation. Their decimal form is just pure, beautiful chaos. It goes on forever. And, this is the crucial part, it never, ever repeats in a pattern. It's just an endless, unpredictable string of digits. This is where we find all those famous mathematical constants and the square roots of numbers that aren't perfect squares. And here are the absolute superstars of Team Irrational. You know them, you've seen them. There's pi, the hero of every circle. There's the square root of 2, a number that famously drove ancient Greek mathematicians crazy. And then there's the number e, a constant that just shows up everywhere, from population growth to your bank account. Okay, so we've met the teams. Now, how do you become a number scout? How can you actually spot the difference between a rational and an irrational number out in the wild? Don't worry, I've got your official 3-step identification guide right here. All right, here's your 3-step checklist. It's super simple. First, can it be a fraction? If the answer is yes, boom, it's rational. If not, look at its decimal. Does it stop or does it repeat? If yes, rational again. And finally, for square roots, just peek at the number inside. If it's a perfect square like 9 or 16, the root is rational. Easy. So here's the big question. Why does any of this actually matter outside of a math class? Well, because whether you realize it or not, you are using both of these teams of numbers every single day. Team Rational numbers are your everyday heroes, right? You'll find them in your kitchen when you measure out a half cup of sugar or when you're balancing your budget. Team Irrational, they show up in the grand designs of nature and architecture. You absolutely need pi to figure out the area of that pizza you're about to eat, and you need those square roots for things like building a sturdy house. One team handles the neat stuff, and the other handles the wonderfully complex stuff. Now, let's pause, because this is a question I hear all the time. It's a really, really common misconception. People see that little square root symbol, and their brain just immediately jumps to irrational. But that's not the whole story. The difference is actually really simple. Look on the left. The square root of a perfect square, like 9, is just 3, a perfectly normal, rational number. Now, look on the right. The square root of a non-perfect square, like 2, gives you that endless, non-repeating decimal. That's irrational. It all depends on what's inside that square root symbol. So there you have it, the secret life of numbers.
two teams, the orderly rationals and the wild irrationals, both working together to describe pretty much everything in our universe. Now that you know their secrets and how to spot them, what kind of numbers are you going to find out in your world today?